So it's about, I've got 6:30, 34.
34. Call to order.
Call to order. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad to see we're starting off on a good foot here. Everybody's here. Okay. Couple of things to go over tonight. Some things are on the agenda, some aren't. The list of capital requests will not be in for at least another week.
Okay.
Although we set the deadline for the 13th, I thought we might have something tonight, but the departments are taking a little longer than expected, as usual.
That had come up as a possibility, right?
As usual, so.
A remote possibility. We'd have something for tonight.
Yeah. So tonight, we're going to be discussing other issues. Before I forget, you are officially the asset keeper that Joe was.
Okay.
So there's the file with the stuff on
You're
it.
bringing a laptop from now on then.
Don't get caught up in some stuff, you know what I mean? With
Well,
USB.
I'll scan it before I download it.
Well, yeah, he was a valuable member. He had served on all the committees in town over the years and the select board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Knew virtually everybody.
Yeah. But I think we've got with the way the town administrator has structured the requests and everything, I think we're into a whole new realm here, and I think it's going to be exciting and very busy for us this year.
So was that 10/13? Is that the projected, you had said the 13th?
That was September 13th.
Oh, okay.
It was supposed to be in.
There we go.
He had hoped to get it going. You were here for that meeting. He gave the schedule and
Yes.
everything, yeah.
Yes.
So
I've got it in here
I'm
somewhere, but,
hoping,
you know.
I'm hoping we won't have to call an emergency meeting. Only because the way he has it laid out, November is kind of a deadline when he wants to present it to the finance committee and select board so they can start doing their thing for the budget. And then come back to us if we need to review it. So I don't know if that's gonna happen, so we're just gonna take it as it comes and see. And if we need an emergency meeting, I'll just let everybody know.
No worries.
I don't know when we have our next meeting scheduled. I think it's not until
It's October 19th,
October 19th.
yeah,
Okay.
Thursday.
Yep, I do have that in. But if some requests come in and they want us to look at them before then, I thought we might have a couple. I don't think there's gonna be many,
I'm expecting around 10 or 12,
really.
yeah. I'd be surprised if it was any more than that. One of the ones that, well, first off, anybody have any comments to make in regards to tonight's meeting or
we do
anything
the
you want to bring
minutes?
up?
We should
Let's
approve
do
the
the
minutes
minutes.
from last week.
Okay,
So Mike, I just saw one thing.
Okay,
When you discussed the review of minutes from the prior meeting, you said review minutes from 8/24, but I think it would actually be, I think that was 8/10, right? The prior meeting?
No, we had one on the,
I had it,
This is the meeting on the 24th that you're talking about. So we're not reviewing the minutes from the 24th, at the meeting on the 24th.
actually, we're doing the minutes on the 24th tonight. You're
Right.
right. You're right.
So it should be the 10th, I think.
Yep.
That was the prior meeting.
10th. Okay. When I sent meetings last time to Anita, she changed one date in one of the
she?
meetings.
okay.
The one that we did at the very was it in July or very beginning of August?
Didn't pick up.
She's on top of things.
Everything else looked good.
Okay.
Any other comments on the minutes? If not, no discussion. Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion to accept the minutes.
Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm suspending the individual protocol, yay, because if we all agree if there's a no, we'll bring it up for exception, if that's okay with everybody.
Agreed.
So I don't have to say Second, aye, you know, but,
I think that made more sense when we were doing Zoom.
yeah. Yeah, but we don't need that tonight. Our minutes will reflect that, that's for sure. Okay,
It's either a majority vote.
yeah.
It's pretty straightforward.
We have no old business to do at this point, except to review some things. We have no proposals that have been submitted to us. But there are two things I think is important that I want to go over with you. One is the CIPC is they're going through the bylaws, and the select board is going to be covering capital improvement in a week or two. And there are some things in there that I want to bring to your attention. Number one is the cost of the equipment or capital that we're looking at was 10,000. It's now 25,000 or more. Okay, because they wanted to keep that. The town administrator just said, anything below 25, let's put on the operating budget. It's not really where you guys should be anyways. We're going to be looking at bigger stuff.
And that lines up with more with the state, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 25.
Well, the 10,000 was originally the state recommendation, but finances being what they are and costs being what they are.
Yeah.
Right.
$25,000 a tire change on a fire truck.
Just about.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
The other thing is the definition. We've got to be look at the stuff that goes through the town that people may not think about putting through us. Because it's very specific here what we look at
For the bylaw.
for the bylaw.
Yeah.
And the definitions are pretty much going to stay the same. The capital is purchased or undertaken at intervals of not less than 5 years, has a useful life of at least 5 years, so that stayed the same, and then the total cost became $25,000. The issue here, and I heard you discussing it when I came in, was the land for sale. CIPC, if you read the bylaw, has to make a recommendation on the purchase of that land.
Is this the bylaw that was updated a few years ago with Peter Crane? Remember he came in and sat and,
No, this is the one that he's doing now.
he's doing it
That's up.
over again?
No, we never got it done initially.
But that's up for,
Finalized.
that's gotta go to town, right?
That has to go to town.
Next year.
However, the old bylaw is exactly the same except for the dollar value.
Okay.
So,
Well, he had changed a whole lot of wording and everything when he was in here with us a few years ago. Were you
Right.
here for that?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, we had some concerns about some of it.
right, and that's the stuff that's in this new one that has not gone to the select board yet, believe
Oh,
it
it
or not.
never went to the select board,
Right.
okay. For some reason, I thought it was all plugged in or whatever.
Right. So that is one. Everything else is pretty much the same, falls under general laws and all that stuff. The committee shall specify a date by which all town officials, regional school committees, and other regional bodies shall submit information concerning all anticipated capital expenditures. So,
Regional.
right, so school system, for example, has to submit. They didn't submit it to us, but they put together a budget, a capital plan back in 2017 of what they wanted to see. So I got a copy of that. So we're gonna be looking at that because they've already submitted their capital requests to the town administrator. We just don't have a copy. We're not getting that yet.
I remember,
But it's to which all town officials, so that's a very broad category.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So that was, I believe, what was added. The other thing is the committee shall coordinate with the town administrator to create and amend an annual capital expenditure budget. Now, on the finance committee and TA, the way it works, it hopes to work, is that we will submit our budget, both the capital budget and the capital plan. The capital budget's 1 year, the capital plan is 4 out of those 5 years or more. We'll submit both of those to the town administrator, the finance committee, and the select board. We could probably get away from the select board because the TA is a representative of the select board. And then they'll put together the budget based on our recommendations. If there's an issue, we'll sit with the finance committee or the select board or TA trying to resolve it. As they go through the budget process, some of the things we recommended may not go on or off. So they're gonna try to bring us into the fold to discuss what's going on, but only for the current year. We're giving them the advance notice so they can see it, because in about 3 years at the most, we're gonna have a 1.2 million or more dollars of fire truck on their budget. So that's gonna be an issue that they need to be aware of. It's coming up. How do they fund that? And so things are gonna be evolving and changing in the financial world of how things work between the finance committee, the select board, and us. Because we're gonna have some big recommendations here. I mean, from what I see, there is a heavy push to buy the land. But that has to come through us, whether they accept our recommendation or not, it has to come through us,
Yeah,
okay?
and wasn't included in the
No, that was a surprise,
budget that
right?
we received from the town
Land
manager.
purchases usually are.
You know, I wouldn't have a problem really looking at the land if there was a purpose to buying it.
I'm with you on that, like what, my question was, and I wasn't here for the last meeting, so I apologize, but like, I don't know what's discussed is, what's the end use there? Is it just to hold? That doesn't, that can't make our values.
I can,
Is it for a school? Is it for a new town hall, a new fire station? Okay, let's quantify it, but
the problem we're running into is that if you know where the property is, it's in the middle of nowhere, basically. The road is only big enough currently to allow a school bus to get through. A car and a school bus ain't gonna make it if you, and you know darn
fair.
well, don't you, Dan?
I'm familiar with the road.
Right, so we buy the land. Now, currently, the land is already sold. It has a purchase and sale agreement on it. A builder wants to buy it, and he's already committed to it, but there's 2 parcels to that land. It's about 54 acres total.
so this is a right of first refusal.
This is a right of first refusal. So if you look at the land, if you can kind of see this, Emerald Road goes here. There's, off of Emerald Road, there's this piece of property that's about like this. That's 16 acres. Currently, it's being farmed by a farmer who plants corn there. He makes mulch out of it, whatever. Then you have this land here, which extends on, which is the other, 38 acres or something like that. This is all wooded, and some of it is watershed area or wetlands, yep. He has already specified that if he doesn't, he's willing to buy both pieces. This one for $400K, this one for $200K. But if he doesn't get this one, he's not buying this one. So that means the person who was selling this is gonna be stuck with 38 acres for maybe a long time. So that's kind of tucking it to the person if the town buys it.
Yeah.
He wants to put up 7 homes,
Yeah, of course.
okay?
Well, could you factor that in as a subdivision and throw more in there?
Well, it all depends, because subdivisions mean you have one road going
It's an
in.
A&R lot.
So it more like you'd have a road coming in here, one here. So anytime you build a house with access to the road, it's an A&R. That's not considered in the permitting or subdivision process.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I haven't looked at how the building or the planning board has put that in place. It does look like he has a road and there's a house here, one here, one here.
Well, if he's creating
forth.
frontage, he's utilizing basically town assets to do it, meaning
Right.
DPW, snow plowing, drainage facilities.
Right.
I don't think the water gets down there, so it's probably
No,
private
actually,
well.
that's not gonna be water, that's going to
Private
be,
well,
that's gonna be well, I believe that's well.
private well, probably obviously private
Off that area,
septic,
because
so,
I have friends who live in that area,
Yeah.
they're well and sewer,
yeah.
so.
That's kind of, that's a plan, obviously, I'm sorry, not to overstep,
go
but
ahead,
that's a
finish.
planning board decision. But he could, by A&R rights, depending on the frontage, he could just section those off.
Right.
I guess my biggest question is what do we want to do with it?
Well,
What's the
see, that's
town?
the problem, they don't want,
They don't want to build homes,
there's
but
some discussion of, we don't wanna build homes because it costs the town money. And I don't wanna get into a discussion on the managed growth bylaw, because
enough.
I'm just crazy on that thing. Shouldn't have been put in that way in the first place. But if we don't take out those, if we don't allow them to do that, the homeowner's gonna miss out on this sale. They'll get the money for this sale. And we're going to have this property here for I don't know how long. Because no plan of action has been put into it. Anything I've heard is, and this will come up in the discussion when we go oversee when it comes to the committee for this, of what do we do with the property? If we get rid of the corn, it's cleared land.
It's already pretty flat, and that's
Yeah.
probably why he wants that piece. Well, what would is there any info as to what he would do with the second parcel if he got both?
He'd probably take about this much of it and put up another 6 homes.
Yeah, because that's not all buildable there.
No, it's
Some
not, because
very
you can
wet
see it
stuff,
goes down
yeah.
in, yeah. So that's the other thing, and so if he does buy this land, if we let him have it, there was a discussion of who's responsible for taking care of fixing this road. Could he be made responsible for some of it as part of the process? I don't know.
question is it a special permit for him to get a subdivision in there? If it's a special permit, the town can request anything they want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know that.
If it is a special permit, that would fall back on the developer. You could say, hey, look, I want this stretch redone, and this is all has to go through hearings
Right,
and get washed out. But
Right.
if it's a special permit, it's different than A&R. A&R is like,
Right.
we'd own the road.
we'll rubber stamp it for you,
Yep.
right. So let's say that we buy the land. Now the choice is, if we buy it, how do we recover our cost? We could lease this out for
What's-
about, probably $1,000 a year. The interest
What-
on this is going to be about $16,000 a year.
The town doesn't have cash to
what's
pay
the-
for it.
Huh?
Use it for what?
To the farmer,
Oh, for the corn?
for the corn.
How much could you get for solar there?
It,
Well, that's another thing, but no
You get
solar.
pretty good sun.
Right.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty open for sun, but I don't think,
Is there I got a whole list of questions.
Yeah, which we can
Is
discuss.
it three-phase? On the road, is it three-phase power? Meaning there's three
I
high
have
line.
no idea. See, that's what we don't know, is the collateral stuff that comes into play.
there are existing houses down there.
There are houses on this road here, there's some down here, there's 2, 3, 5 in here.
And some
There are some
setback,
houses in
long
there.
driveways.
Yeah, and we had some people come to the select board who were residents that lived in that town and voiced their opinion on it. But the question,
What
but
was their
again,
opinion? If
their
you
opinion is,
can tell
well, they
us.
want the town to buy it.
Yeah.
Because one of them said, I love the animals that are there, and I want to make sure they stay there. Another one said that we can buy the land cheap, it's only $20,000 an acre, where everybody else is getting 60 and 70 an acre. And I was gonna say, but I didn't, that, well, then if it's that cheap, why don't you guys get together and buy it?
Yeah.
So,
Did the assessor so what's the assessor's value
around 200 and,
change?
I think,
What's,
about 209, because it's listed as 61A.
yeah, so I was gonna ask you, obviously it's in 61A.
Yep.
So it's appraised and then it's 61A, so it's
You know what 61A
pennies on the
is?
dollars.
Okay,
Pennies on the dollars for tax revenue.
What is
Right.
61A?
right. So we get, I think we get,
Oh,
Out of 16
Ag.
acres, I think we get about $4,800 a year, if I looked at the tax rolls properly.
So it's not
You put it in 61.
not a huge
tax,
loss of
your
revenue
tax costs,
Go down,
on
right?
all things
yeah.
considered. All right, so
Maintain it as
$4,800.
family,
Yeah.
okay,
but to take it out of 61.
But you
Assessment
have-
value
you have to pay the back
250.
taxes on it.
We buy for 400, we lost
Take that off of
4,900 a year.
Sale price. So
We
you're
get
still
1,000 a
pocketing-
month, that's 12,000 a year if the farmer's,
keep it.
if the farmer's willing to pay it.
Right. And we're paying about 16 a year in interest.
Six
No,
and
I'm
a
sorry.
six, 6 and a quarter?
About 13,000 a year in interest. We have, if we're gonna do it, we gotta borrow at 5%.
so that's 13,000 a year it costs us, plus lost revenue from the taxes
Right.
that it's gonna cost us.
Yeah, so
With no plan in place currently of what to do with that.
so
Now, if we decide to, and we'll rehash all this again, but if we decide to make this into soccer fields or baseball fields, it will cost the town the estimate has been about $250,000 to rehab that for the bases and everything else it has to put in.
And that doesn't count having to
That's not
upgrade the
big
road to
problem.
take that
The
traffic.
big problem is people getting in and out of there.
Right.
And even to back up further, I apologize, but if those numbers that we spitballed a little bit, but if we're gonna take those numbers and we're gonna talk about trying to fund a new cruiser with 5 years worth of worth, that's a new cruiser.
Right.
On the loss of the net for the town, even if we rent to a farmer, we're talking about a new cruiser.
Right.
Of
The
land that's just gonna sit there, so.
yeah, and
Unless there's an identified use.
right, we could put solar there, but we have much better places for solar.
And solar has a
Hospital is one.
huge front entry.
Yeah. So we have that dilemma. If we do make rec fields out of it, but we already have a lot of rec fields in town, and a lot of rec stuff that needs rehab really bad. I mean, we're talking probably at least $500,000 for baseball fields, basketball courts, new equipment. In fact, the playground in front of Naquag there can't be used anymore. It doesn't meet code.
Really?
The stuff is it's old and it's dangerous for the kids.
The kindergarten playground, the one
Yeah,
up front at the
one
very
on
end.
the front, can't even be used. So I'm thinking, why, 400 grand and we got all this other stuff we need? And the town, I think, currently has 11 pieces of property that are industrial or commercial use that we could take if we wanted to do something else with it. On 68, excellent access. This is, I don't know if you know Emerald Road at all, but if you go, you go down Maple Ave and you go past the hospital entrance and you keep going and you'll pass, what's that road that goes into
Kenwood?
Kenwood?
Kenwood,
And you get down to Kenwood and then you go further and you're gonna hit Emerald. That's where the landscaping place is. Rutland Landscape.
Landscape.
That's where they are. So you go up that road, and when you go up that road, you go like this, and then there's a fork in the road. So you go here into Emerald, and this turns in basically a dirt road. Then it goes down again, and it turns into some pavement. Then it goes again, and it's dirt. And it curves up this way for pave, and then it goes again, and you got spotches of dirt. So if you're gonna build that, this whole area here has to be redone into a 2-lane highway. And you're talking approximately, what I got from the DPW was, it's gonna cost about $1 million to have that done.
Well, that's the only offset.
That's gonna
is
kill
that- is that we
the
sell
developer
it
if he's
and
gonna
we
do that.
end up-
And I don't think the developer's gonna do that.
The
I mean, I think
developer could-
Now
could
you're
be
choosing
put
lesser of two
to
evils, $1 million or
do a
400,000.
partial to get to it, make it more
He could
easily
be requested
accessible.
to do down to his entrances where the roads are.
Unless it's a special permit, in which case we could push it back
I
on
don't,
him.
Right. So you're talking, say, 400,000, 650, and $1 million. So you're talking $1.6 million to buy that property, basically is what it's gonna cost us. Or it sits there.
Well, apologize, if we buy it, we don't own the road upgrade
No,
unless we do something with it.
right.
Or
Just
there's an
because-
idea of the selectmen or town of Rutland to do something with it.
And
Then we would have to upgrade it.
if you look at, and the other question becomes, if we buy it, where do we put it? Do we put it in agricultural? Do we put it in COMCOM? Do we put it in rec?
Does the town of Rutland have a history of buying agricultural land and then? Is that, I guess, that's a question for I don't know. Is that something we've done historically?
No, because we've never had the money.
Yeah.
The ag council doesn't have the money. Concom doesn't have the money. So we'd have to go to outside sources, which we reached out to. The Worcester Land Trust and all those, they don't have the money. They need a participant in it to help them buy it. And if we help them buy it, then we still don't know how the road's gonna be fixed. Or what land, if you buy the land trust, they're not gonna do anything with that. That's dead land.
There could be a lot of state money available, but you'd have to have a plan.
Well, the other thing is you have to file for a grant, and we only have 120 days to make a decision on this.
Because it was filed as a prelim with the planning board. Yep.
So therefore, you're never gonna get a grant in 120 days.
Has the,
Not as far along
has the
as we
planning
are.
board looked at this?
You can request extensions.
They
but-
requested that we buy it.
Really? The planning board said that? Oh, I would have thought they would have gone the other way with it.
Nope.
They're changing their,
Concom doesn't wanna buy it.
no?
RDIC doesn't really wanna buy it, but they're kind of on the fence. They're not here or there because it doesn't apply to them specifically, so they don't really wanna buy it. It's not gonna be under their purview. And
Use their money they got, and then it would be under their purview.
well, there's a couple of things of how we can use the money. We're gonna be discussing that at the select board meeting on Monday. So the question we have to say is, if we look at it, it's a capital asset, and if we go down the list of things, and if we were to take our sheet tonight and rate that, where would it fall?
Before we even get to that, we have to get a request. So you raised the question about which department is it through? Like, somebody has to put in a request for this.
The select board will, because the select board owns all property and buildings in the town.
Okay.
Okay, so then who
It's-
from the
it's-
select board is going to come make the pitch?
Right, so they're gonna buy it, if they buy it, but then they have to decide, what are we gonna, who's gonna oversee that land?
We can't make an educated we can't make an educated decision on
I'll do it.
that until we see
Use
what
restroom.
other,
So that's what I'm saying, somebody needs to make a request and come in here and
but what
explain.
other requests are there gonna be? You know, if we don't get many requests and don't ask for much money,
Well, I'm gonna bring this up at the board meeting Monday night.
we have to get our other requests in line and we'd rate it and see where it stands up against them
It needs
and how
to-
much money is available.
Right. So,
It needs to go through the
again,
process.
it's a very, I mean, there's another piece of property that's up for sale on Glenwood. Good road, you'll have nice access, and it's about 2 minutes from 68. And it's about 54 acres that are being
Bacon.
sold. Okay?
Bacon had that, right?
Huh?
Craig Bacon came in on that.
No, that's Dawes, D-A-W, Daw,
Oh,
Realtor, he owns that piece.
oh, because Bacon was at the planning board meeting the other night, talking about
Oh, he might be
off
interested.
68.
He might be interested in buying that, I don't know. But it's on Glenwood, and you turn onto 68, coming from Holden, you take a left onto Glenwood, and you're about a minute and a half, 2 minutes up the road.
I'm thinking of a lot that's on the east side of 68,
Yeah,
and it's up, I must have the street wrong.
so that's another piece of property that's up for sale. We own a piece of property at the end of a cul-de-sac that's about 6 or 7 acres. That is great for soccer fields and stuff, but we couldn't do anything because it came up for town meeting to develop that, and the residents put up a hiatus about it, because it'd be too much traffic. And you don't go through the cul-de-sac, but it's at the end of it. So I just want to make you aware that that might come through the committee. I'm gonna mention it to the select board that.
So Harry, have you heard any feedback from the general public on it? As far as buying this property,
No.
other than the abutters? I mean,
Yeah, no, I mean, the consensus of the town, the people that I do know and talk to is, we shouldn't be spending our money on this after just telling our residents we have another $700 that taxes they gotta do. And now we're gonna rob that money to pay for this, no matter how you look at it.
We had to do an override because we didn't have enough money to balance the town budget.
Right,
And we're
pay
gonna go
people.
spend
you're
money
gonna
on
tell
something like
people,
that.
like, we're gonna buy a lot, we don't know what we're gonna do with it, we don't know what the end use is.
On the surface, it doesn't look like a good investment to the town for me.
No.
But,
And I don't think it'll come in rated very high on the scale of things that we
and
do.
we have to get other submittals to compare it against. Where's the better use of the money? And if there's requests for some things that would rate fairly high, they're equipment the town needs and stuff,
Well, I'll give you an example on this.
that
There's
might
about-
rate higher than a piece
I
of
think
land that we're
there-
not gonna do anything with.
There's about 1.7 million sitting in the stabilization fund. They could pull from that. But if they do, it may hit the town bond rating because they don't have enough money in there. We have about 1.2 million sitting in the RDIC fund from the sale of the property.
Yep.
So we could rob from RDIC to do that, and it wouldn't affect the town at all. But what does that mean going forward for helping develop business in the town, which will generate income for us?
Right.
Doesn't.
We can
Sounds
take
like an emotional decision,
Yeah, it is.
to be honest with you. Sounds like an emotional business decision. And I don't think that's where,
I
Any of us-
sympathize with the property owners out there who don't wanna see another little development next to their
or
nice
the abutters,
piece of
or
paradise there, but at the same time.
if you're a
I don't
property
think,
owner, and it-
necessarily think the town should be funding that.
I agree.
So I mean, that is, again, the essence of what the discussion is about that property. This was owned by the Viners. The mother owned it. She passed away. It went into the estate. It's been sitting there for a while. They finally got it out of the estate to the daughter. The daughter then made an arrangement with the purchase and sale with this developer. And it's going through an attorney down in Millbury or someplace, I don't know. Anyways, he agreed, I'll buy this for 400. I'll chip in too, just to take it off your hands. But if I don't get this, you're stuck with this.
What are the back taxes to get it out of 61A, do we know?
It's probably gonna be about 25,000. It's 5 years to get it out of 61A.
And that's not a huge lift if you're
No.
looking to build eight to 10 homes.
Right. So that's not a huge lift on it. but
Has
yeah.
anyone talked to the farmer, got his feedback?
What's that?
Has anyone talked to the farmer, his feedback, like,
Oh, he wants to keep that for cheap money.
well, obviously, but is he willing to buy
No, he
it?
doesn't
No
wanna buy it.
conversation about that? Okay.
No. No, he
I
doesn't.
figured as much, but I thought I'd ask.
I mean, he runs a lot of cows. It's currently leased by Jordan Farms. And so this is great for him. And it doesn't mean that if we take it and we don't know what we're gonna do with it, we still can't lease it to him to use.
Right.
Or put it out for bid for any farmer,
Yeah.
because this was a private sale. So if we're gonna lease it.
Yeah, then it's gonna do nothing.
Huh?
The land is gonna sit there and do
They're
nothing.
gonna sit there and do nothing. And yes, maybe there are homes going in, but 10 years from now, and
Well,
the average home is gonna be 450, 500,000 at least. So I mean,
And in theory, those homes are gonna generate new taxes.
right. Now, if they have
Also, how many
kids,
kids are going into the school?
Yeah.
Right.
well, that's the
3
other
kids
thing.
per household going into the school system, it wipes out those taxes pretty fast.
Right.
But the other thing is that a managed bylaw was passed based on 3 things. Number 1 was the amount of water that no more houses could use. Well, that negates Mushkapog because it's gonna be,
The water and the sewerage both on an issue down there.
right, but you're not gonna have water. You're gonna have well and you're gonna have septic on these homes. So that negates that issue. The third issue is the taxes or the kids. There was a survey done by CMRPC, Central Mass Regional Planning
Planning
Commission.
Commission, right.
And they said that the average home in Rutland was, back in 2018 or 17 when the study was, about 350. The values that they used in the report was not 350. They spread a range of 450 to like 287, 278, somewhere in there. So they have a range. They didn't use the highest number. They didn't use the middle number. They used the lowest number. In the report, it said, if your home value is greater than 300,000, then it's a benefit to the town. If it's below 300,000, it's not a benefit to the town, and you should put in a managed bylaw. So they used the lower number. And that is what is stuck in people's minds.
Yeah.
Every house we build is costing the town money, when in reality, it doesn't cost them that much.
The cheaper houses may not have 3 kids in them going to the school system.
Right, so,
And not as much of a burden on the town.
Are under 300,000.
Oh, God, no.
You're
no,
lucky to find one for less than 500 now.
right. So my point is that if you looked at the managed survey and it used the average, not the low, that this wouldn't be a problem. For water, for sewer, maybe even the school, because I don't know, maybe you know, you're younger, but I don't know many people that buy $500,000 and $600,000 homes that move in with 3 kids, who can afford the mortgage,
Not now,
you know?
not now, no.
So that's what I'm saying. You might get 1 kid out of it. I don't know. And it's back in an area, so it's very hidden. There's not a lot of access there. So if you put in sports, can you imagine all the traffic coming in through there?
That road would have to be upgraded.
Yeah, that road couldn't.
So it would have to be redone, but here's the other side. It'll only go as far as Turkey Hill. It'll stop there.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for the other side? So people,
Irish.
it's not an Irish. That would almost have to be done. So it's really,
You got all that new construction that happened along Turkey. I mean, you go right around the corner of that,
destroyed the road
and there's
there.
7
down Turkey
houses
Road
that
lately?
were
Turkey Hill?
4
Yeah.
bedrooms.
Yeah, I was
It's a
down
nightmare.
about a
I
week
mean, I
ago.
almost feel like saying how many
It's
kids
a
moved in
brutal
all
road.
of those.
Yeah,
Brutal.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what's
I
going
was-
to
I've
happen.
been
here.
complaining-
The
I was
people that
complaining
just
to Joe
bought
about
those
this for
lots and built
2
are
years
gonna be
before
the
he left.
same-
And the
My daughter wrote him a letter.
same demographic.
You guys see
that are
this
gonna
road,
buy
it's
these
horrific.
right around
And then they
the
put those
corner.
new houses in,
Yeah.
and all the construction vehicles
Yeah, and
were
that's-
backing right up into the ditch. It
Right.
broke the ditch down, and now it all just washed out.
know.
My driveway, the bottom of my driveway floods now every time it rains.
I guess what I was getting at is we just had people buy those properties, build houses, so I think that's the demographic that's gonna
It's gonna
buy
be
a
the same
house
kind of
around.
houses. It's
So
gonna be
you could
500
almost look
grand
at, go,
for-
okay, those houses that were just built, what's the average? Is it 4? Is it 5? They're all probably gonna be 4 or 5 bedroom houses, but I have a feeling you could look at that and say, that's
four, I think.
the family that's gonna move in here. Maybe it's a 4-person family.
I don't know, but those were the 3 things: children,
Probably
water
two,
and
you're
sewer.
looking at probably 2 kids on average.
Yeah.
In
On those new
houses,
houses,
yeah.
yeah.
So that's just, whether we do it or not is up to the town.
I assume the planning board has had a full plan in front of them.
Is that
It's
full
been
plan
submit-
layout for that?
Yeah, it's been
No.
submitted, no.
No,
Okay.
they have nothing planned.
This is the beginning, so they submitted a preliminary plan, which puts us on the clock for
No,
120
they
days.
just said, we think we should buy it
Oh,
for future use.
well, I thought we were on the
That-
clock for 120 days.
That really
Preliminary
surprised me,
plan.
the
My
planning board, Dave.
refusal to say, yes, we want to buy the property. But there is no plan in place right
Okay.
now for anything, other than to say, we want to buy it, and we'll figure out that later.
I think you should talk to town council on that.
Yeah.
I don't think you can't have it both ways. What puts in my opinion, in other towns that I've worked in, what puts us on the clock is a preliminary plan. Now, that could be something sketched out on a napkin. You sit down with the planning board and you have an official meeting and there's notes taken and we say, all right, this is our preliminary plan.
Actually,
That puts us on the clock.
in the agreement, when she went to 61A in this town, it says that if I decide to sell the property, I will give you the right of first refusal for the value.
That's true,
That's it.
but just for the value of the land, not,
No, that's what I mean. So if we say yes, under the first refusal, we now have to go to town and say, we need $400,000, however we use it, to buy the land,
okay.
and that's it.
Yeah.
We don't have to tell them what we're gonna use it for, we don't have to say anything.
Didn't we say it's assessed
Except
for
that
250, so
We
wouldn't
wanna
have to
keep
put
it
up
for
250?
future use.
We could.
I mean, you're on
put the-
that road, Dan,
We
what
could
would
put
you
the,
think of
we
that?
could put the assessed value at 250,
I would have
which
a
it is.
strong preference for it to go into other hands than a developer, but I don't think it's the town's role to be doing it. I would love for like a land trust or somebody to take it over.
Yeah,
but
I have no
it doesn't-
problem with
yeah.
that.
Harry, out of curiosity, since if Britton's right and it's the value of the land, right now the value of the land is assessed at 250, so if we have first right of refusal at the value currently,
No, we have
No?
first right of refusal of what the landowner is selling it for.
okay,
Market value.
market value.
Unless we come in and do another market value appraisal of what we think it's worth. We're not gonna spend that kind of money.
It also depends on what can you lean on a developer to upgrade the road going in there?
But you can't do the whole road.
No, you can't.
Right,
You can get a
so-
piece of it.
Right,
That comes down to your planning board.
right.
If it's a special permit, if it's a special permit, they could tell them to put gold lined curb cuts,
Right. So that is a planning board.
sidewalks, street lighting. That's a special permit and all the towns do that.
You know,
You could even require them to make it an HOA, meaning we don't own the streets, we don't own the drainage, we don't own the
well,
water.
we own the street now, I think, such as it is.
Well,
The street entry, but not
not
the,
anything that goes into
not
that property.
anything that goes in and out.
Right.
And they would have to have a permit to tie into it.
Yeah.
And anything that they trash on our street.
They could have a real nice fancy cul-de-sac paved and everything, but the road fading it is junk.
And the way I look at
I think
it
it's a
is,
huge miss in the town for HOAs.
we had 120 days to make a decision on this. And we spent it debating, or we are spending it debating whether we should buy it or not. Not what we're going to do with the land.
Exactly, I'm with you.
If we knew what we were gonna do with it, then we could say yes or no, let's buy it. But just to decide, so, from a capital improvement planning, how do we improve this land, buying it for 400,000? There's no plan in it. If we need a fire truck, we know what we're doing to improve the town. If we need a plow truck, if we need a building. But this doesn't give us any definition of what
Get a big
improvements.
fire truck down that road?
Yeah, nobody can go by.
Can't
the
turn it
direction.
around, he'd have to keep
I don't know where
going.
you're pulling the water from,
They
but,
do
you
come
know.
down that road because they fill up right down on the end of the road there
Yeah,
from that little pond.
the pumper trucks, yeah.
Right. So I
Yes,
just
so-
wanted to bring you, we don't need to go into that anymore. I just wanted to.
No,
give
that
you-
was, we talked about that long, I thought we would.
Yeah, okay.
That'd be a
Probably
tough,
brought
it's gonna be a
up by me,
tough
I
decision.
apologize.
It's gonna be a tough decision.
No, that's, I just want to, this is from MGL, Mass General Laws. And although it wasn't specifically listed here, it said, said committee shall annually review the capital improvement program, if any, and proposals for the construction of municipal buildings, acquisition of land, or personal property, and make recommendations to the appropriate officers or individuals. So I did not believe the CIPC should review the construction of municipal buildings, but that is our purview.
It is in there.
And we've tried to stay away from that because up until you joined the board, we did not have a lot of expertise on buildings and that kind of stuff to see where it is. So we felt we weren't qualified to do that. But now looking at it with the town hall being redone, the community center being redone, the fire department has to be redone, or a new building. We've got a lot of capital issues going on here, which apparently is going to come through this committee. So, and of course, land, and that's MGL, so it's not something the town says, oh, you can't do it. No, MGL says it has to be the CIP that looks at acquisition of land. So that's why I say it has to be, go through
Those are
us.
projected for this year.
What's that?
So the things you listed, all of the
No,
construction.
that's been since the CIPC was put in place.
Mass General Laws.
We've just never went there. That's all. I mean, you're overseeing a $20 million building, making a recommendation. Do you need it? Should you have it? How to finance it, all that stuff. So we're getting into some pretty big stuff, which to me is where we should be. We shouldn't be in the weeds figuring out buying a $10,000 piece of equipment up the front of a plow for the front of a truck, you know, stuff like that. But I just wanted to bring you up to speed on that. The committee shall consider the relative need, impact, timing, and cost of each anticipated capital expenditure and the effect each will have on the financial position of the town. That's the responsibility of CIPC. So if we do that and that land comes to us for our review, we're not gonna be able to do it in 2 days or a week. And I don't know if we can get it done in time to have the select board recommend it for a town meeting, which is coming up in October? November, we're trying to establish the fall town meeting now.
We have to have some kind of idea what kind of money we're gonna have to purchase things with. And we have to have other recommendations from other departments about what they need. And we have to be able to compare that purchase of the property to the other things.
Right.
Yeah.
And how do they rate against each other?
And we're gonna get
And
that.
where does the money come from?
The town is working on the certified cash, they're working on the ARPA funds, they're working on funds that have been set aside for projects that have never been completed. And so we're gonna have access to the different types of
I'm wondering
money
what some
out
of
there.
those funds are. What some of those projects
I'll give
were.
you an example. We set aside $30,000 to have the senior center study done. That was about 4 or 5 years ago. We never did it. And one of the things we said on this capital plan committee when we were, a couple of years ago, we said, we are not gonna approve a plan for study unless there is some money behind it to do it right, to build it. Where if you're gonna do a study for 30 million and then you don't have $30,000 and you don't have $2 million to build it, what the hell's the sense in doing a study? Wait another 5 years or 4.
We made a motion
That was,
not that long ago for ARPA funds with that.
right.
Do the studies, you have to save this money to do the envelope work on those 2 buildings.
Right. Let's see here.
Speaking of putting together minutes, these are gonna be confusing minutes to put together.
Just say, lots of talk of land,
You know,
and CIPC.
There was an article, there was a subsection in the article of the old bylaw that said any capital expenditure made by the town that needs to go before town meeting should be submitted to the capital improvement, which left out ARPA funds or any other funds. The new bylaw doesn't say that. The new bylaw says, just plainly, if you meet these criteria, it has to come through here. It doesn't specify exceptions.
we never were given access to that. We never even knew what it was being spent on.
Well, let me tell you, not many people were.
Yeah.
No. So that's kind of what I want to bring up on this. The other thing is, I printed this off, and I want to give you some idea of our debt, because that plays into us as well. This is the long-term debt by the town.
Thank you.
This is going back a few years, though.
We don't have, if you look at,
Didn't we have something more recent than this when, once Becky came in and,
no, that's the most recent one. And I requested another update, and that's what she sent me. So that was, because nothing's been done until town meeting, when we start to borrow, then you'll see more of it. Oh. If you look at going back, this was done in basically let's see here. I started this back in about 2017. But we start with 22, you can see all the categories of debt here. Buildings, fire truck, library, all that stuff. When you look at this report, you're gonna see that you only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, really, not even 9, 8. And a couple are coming, land acquisition is coming off this year, it's already been paid. So that 35.7 is gonna be available for financing. So when you look at this, we've come a long way and we're close to being here right now, or probably here right now. So we've wiped out a lot of debt in that time.
I can't help but look at the public safety building refinance 2021. And this is the building that they want to rebuild. And we're going to be paying for the refinancing on the existing until 42.
Yeah. There's a lot of confusion going, I know.
That doesn't make sense to me.
And the DPW garage. I mean, if you look at the garage, you actually go in there and look at it, it's like a Quonset hut. Big building with a lot of stuff in, equipment and racks and all that stuff in there. But we're still paying for that thing. And that, in my opinion, for what we got for the money, it was adequate. But if you're gonna build a good DPW building, you're gonna build a good building. And we still have till 2042. What we do need over there is an ice and salt shed. That thing is going to pots.
Yeah.
So that's gonna, and that's not even, that might come to us to review. I think it might be on the sheet. But this is where we are. So you can see that in 2026, 2027, a lot of that debt comes off. And that's the big drop right here on the current. So that gives us a lot of, if we're looking at, now this is not purchase money, this is payment money. This is what we pay every year. We were up to about $1.2 million. We're now down to about 500,000, a little more, or maybe a little more than 5. So we have the capacity for recommending stuff to get back up to this of about, what would you say, about 700,000 maybe? So, and that's 700,000 of expenses to the town. Not, so that would equate to probably about, figure 5%, 700,000. You're talking, let's see, 700,000, 5% is what, 300, 150, 3 million, 150 times 3, 5, 6. So you're probably talking about $15 million worth of expenditures, 20 million that we have available to get to that, and we still wouldn't get to our levy limit.
Okay, well,
But we can't have more than 5% of total debt in this town. That's the limit for what we can have. And that brings us to the next page right here. Which is increase in debt service, which we would have available to us. Oh, I get, you guys share and do that one. That's just a percent, I don't know why I didn't have 5. Oh, here we go. Here's another one.
this looks like one of those sheets Becky had given us.
Yeah, so if you look here at the increase in debt service available, as we go down the line, in 2023, we got 830,000 of debt available to us. As our operating budget goes up, non-excluded debt as a percentage of budget, it can be low or medium, but we're looking at now at 2026, we got 1,040,000 of money available to debt that we can put on the books.
Yeah, the question is, how much would that fund in big projects or something, you know?
Well, that's just the payments now, 1,040,000.
Right.
So you're looking at, I don't know, what, 20 million, 30 million worth of debt over the next few years to get up to that limit?
Yeah.
But if you're putting up a building that's 8 or 10 million, that goes pretty fast. You know, you build a new school for 20 million, that, boom, that's gone.
Yeah.
So, that doesn't, so when we're looking at this stuff, it's how can we maximize what we're gonna do within the limits that we have? Because we've been recommending, and Mike, you probably know that, and Dan better than anybody, we've been recommending the minimum to try to get by to help the town because we've been in such tough shape. We got close to over $20 million worth of stuff on the books that we need. I think one year we recommended 35,000. One year was 100. So we had no money to keep the maintenance and the stuff up.
Doing small change items.
That's it. That's what I mean about being in the weeds, and I don't wanna be there anymore. The town needs to
Biggest thing
grow.
we did was the ambulance.
Yeah. And a lot of that was paid for
Believe it.
by a lot of that was paid for by the state and the feds. Same with the fire truck. The fire truck's gonna be, I think, 85% paid for by the feds. But we still have to come up with 15% out of about 1.4, 1.5 million.
0.8, I thought it was up to
Or 1.8.
0.7 or 8.
Could be. And it takes,
1.85
right now,
right
to get a
here,
fire
yeah.
truck, you're looking at about probably 2 years, if not more. Once you put the order in.
They're not all sitting in a parking lot down on Route 9 somewhere?
No. Okay, any questions on that? We're gonna be discussing that more at length as we go along. This is Wachusett's,
There is room to get a couple of big projects done though.
yeah, there is. And that's why if we use that money, and that's if we borrow the money.
Yeah.
That's not if we use cash. That's only
Well-
borrowed money.
You know, rebuilding the public safety building is,
Well, I don't
we
know.
don't have cash to do that.
Well, right now, it's gonna cost
The
about
town hall.
it'll cost, I think, about 500,000 just to get it back to status where it doesn't leak. And it's a good building again.
All right, that would fit in with this kind of
And
stuff.
like, we are in the process of moving dispatch over to the old library. The one across from the police station.
Annex there, yeah.
The annex there. Well, the state's gonna give us money, but it's still probably gonna cost us 150 or 200,000 to rehab this thing,
Yeah.
even with the money the state gives us.
You had mentioned if we expand to include one more town in the regional dispatch center, the state would fund a lot more of it.
No, the state will actually build us a new building.
What are the 4 towns we have now?
I believe it's Barry,
Barry,
Hubbardston,
Hubbardston, Oakham,
Ocam, and us.
and us. Yeah,
So there's one more out there.
because we've handled other things with some of them, dispatch obviously, but now we handle the ambulance with, is that Oakham now?
I think so.
Or was it Hubbardston? One of them where we took over.
The other thing is, you've got dispatch roughly in a room 3/4 the size of this. And you got about 7 or 8 people. And they field about 16,000 calls a year. So you can imagine how busy they are and cramped they are, that if we can pick up one more town, we will get a first-class dispatch center built for us by the state. So they're working hard on that. Because we get paid by them. So the money they bring in, I think they bring in,
Barry is part of it?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I know Paxton isn't. I don't
No,
think
no,
Paxton.
that
So-
probably wouldn't be.
So if we look at that, each town has to pay a percentage of the fee to belong to us. So we get revenue from that, plus the state gives us about $1 million a year. So as return on investment of an investment of money in something, dispatch is A plus. They pay their own way. So I'm hoping that Mike Moriarty, who is the deputy over there, director, will soon get somebody so we can move forward on that. Question is, we don't know where we're gonna put it. We got lots of land, but it has to be high enough for the tower,
Yeah,
so.
that would be great. One more town. Let's go knock on doors in like New Braintree or something. They're part of a lot of the districts with Barry and Oakham and Hubbardston. That's all the same school district.
Right. Now, what you're seeing on the sheets here, what's that?
Lick or Petersham.
I don't know, something,
Yeah,
because the Hubbardson just put the new tower up.
did they?
Yeah, the new
okay.
tower there. So if we look at this, Wachusett put in a list of capital back in 17. And if you go from now, 20, say, I don't even know if any of this stuff has been done, but you're looking at approximately $5 million worth in their needs. That isn't even on the books here yet.
$5 million being our share of $5 million in projects that we'd contribute to.
No, $5 million, meaning our share, right?
So they'd be looking at all the other towns proportionally.
Yeah,
For a lot
just
of
for
money.
example, just at Wachusett alone, you're looking at $2.1 million just for their stuff. Artificial surface, field surface for Tufts, tennis court, HVAC, gymnasium, a vehicle, replace district truck, whatever that means, ventilators, paving a parking lot, which is, they have, and the parking lot was going to be at, in Jefferson there,
And this is,
the offices are.
oh yeah, they wanted all of that paved a number of years ago, and we kind of passed on it because the other towns had turned it down.
Right, we didn't have the money at that time. So what I'm saying is, besides what we see here, this is gonna be coming our way too. All the
And
Wachusett.
besides what they already charge us per year, per student or whatever.
Yeah, which is about eight grand a year.
Yeah.
About 8 grand, about 7,800, somewhere in there is what they charge us per student.
Yeah.
Now you figure, here's the other bailiwick for us.
How many students is that roughly?
We
know?
think we have 1,700 students from
That we
Rutland.
can, yeah, that are,
I think it's around 1,700 from Rutland. And,
In the high school.
huh?
That's not in the high school.
No, that's all
It's gotta be in all
schools.
the
yeah.
schools.
That's all
I was gonna
schools.
That's what I was gonna
say,
ask, what's to the high school, do you know?
I don't
Just
know.
curious, sorry. Right,
But,
called a fourth of that, maybe?
yeah, a third,
That's-
no
And
more
maybe,
than a
maybe
third.
400-ish.
Oh,
so, our budget this year is probably gonna come in around 26 million, 27 million, not more, maybe close to 28, because I think last year was 25 and change. On this budget, so next budget season, I don't know. You could pass this around. This is kind of the sheet we're gonna get. That we're gonna use for our
ratings
analysis.
to replace the other number sheet we had.
Okay. You guys have had a chance to look at this now and think about it. So I'd like us to review this again to make sure we're right on spot with it. Where'd I cut off? What am I missing here? Request timeline? Oh, just total score, okay. Apparently I didn't have it on, right?
This is something that,
Well, since Britain didn't
Oh, the
see that from the
department's
last
gonna
one,
fill
you wanna
out.
give him
All the
full one?
departments will be using the same form.
That's fine.
That's it.
Oh, you-
and that'll confuse the hell out of some people.
It's
I was
fine.
gonna say, if this hasn't changed, I still have mine from last week.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Unless
So-
there are changes to this.
Now that we see this,
That form there, we should, that's gonna add in confusion to somebody, like the library and the senior center and things like that.
it's gonna add a little confusion to us too, but we'll work it out.
I mean, they were lucky when they had Joe Bucky here because he stepped in and helped everyone else
Right, right.
get their act together a little better.
So let's just take a look at, if we can, let's take a look at the land issue. And use this if we're gonna rate the land issue. Starting by A, is it legally required? No. Town department priority category. This would be select board or town priority category. Future need. Priority ranking, safety, health, infrastructure, I would probably say it's more like increased capacity of a town available to the town, for me. Project's expected useful life.
No way to know that, because we don't know what the
Well,
expected
no way to
use
know.
is.
Unless we sell it, it's gonna be 20-plus years. That's the useful life of land.
Yeah, but that would rate it very high.
Well,
Yeah.
effect on operating and maintenance costs. I would say there would be a large increase from taxes or anything else that has to do with that land.
All right. Yeah, large.
Or minimal, I mean, it would fall at the bottom there.
At the bottom, exactly. I was looking at,
Right.
right, that would be at the bottom.
Effect on town revenue. That would be,
Minimal decrease, probably.
huh?
Probably minimal decrease.
Probably minimal decrease. Two. Availability of state, federal grant money. At this point, we don't have any. But they'd have to let us know if there was. You know, the fire department usually, and the police usually have some grants available, so we know when that stuff's coming through. And request timeline, that would be new. So if we added it up, it would come in very low compared to a lot of other projects.
Looking at maybe a 10 tops.
Yeah. So how do you recommend this to the town that we should purchase it? Well,
Using our old system, priorities were usually above 30.
right.
But
Some of them were hitting
this
40
is,
plus.
this system could change it.
It could change it. We don't know what a good score is gonna be now yet.
No,
But we will,
we
and
will.
we'll know where it compares.
Right. Right. But I'm just saying that that's another thing. If it comes to us, there's no, if it was a plan in place and we knew exactly what it was gonna do, so we could know how much effect it would be, are we gonna lease the land, are we gonna put something on there like solar that's a benefit to the land, to us? Okay. So I appreciate you.
I see
going
ads
through
on the internet all the time, solar
that?
at no cost.
that. Yeah.
But again, to your point, we won't
I'm not
know
sure.
Asterisk.
the $1 million
Yeah,
upgrade to the road.
Yeah.
Cause that's the other concern I have is now if it's not done right, then you've got $1 million going to update the road.
Yeah. There's not much we can do as a board about that. That's up to the planning board to enforce the special permit requirements.
Yeah.
But if they don't, yeah, it's now $1 million hit versus, well, it's not gonna be $1 million, but it's a massive hit.
it'll probably be somewhere between 8 and $1 million. That is what DPW recommended it would cost.
Really?
I got two people, I got a past DPW who dealt with it and the current DPW.
To do that one length of
Yeah.
Emerald Road,
Yeah,
that's about probably a half a mile.
But
No,
well,
I think you'd probably be looking at the whole length.
yeah, all the way to Turkey.
That's what it is. It's about a half mile from
I guess
of
my concern
unpaved.
is will we know
Yeah.
that
That's all.
when we vote
But
on it.
some reason I was thinking-
Until you get to Turkey Road, and then you've got Irish beyond that, but
But
We
we're talking the whole thing
Yes,
because
Unless
the hole
we
has to be dug
have a
up.
round table with the
Water has
planning
to be
board,
put in.
which
Yeah.
then you gotta have an open
All
meeting
that kind of
situation.
we're talking from
restriction.
where you come in from Walnut
Yep.
to where it connects with Turkey Hill Road.
Yep.
About
That's
a
they-
half mile.
You really-
Building a road doesn't necessarily need water
Okay,
and sewer.
huh?
If we make it a town road, it doesn't necessarily have to have water and
No,
sewer installed.
no.
No.
Doesn't. So,
In that estimate was, and I apologize, jumping back in. Is the DPW evaluating that it's gonna be a town road accepted through the subdivision? Or is it just the update of that road?
just the update of that road. And that is making it by code to a standard road that other town roads are.
Yeah, that should 100% be on the developer.
Okay, because right now, all he's doing is putting down gravel, grading it, putting down stone, running the stone, and he's not paving it. The paces that are paved, he's not digging up or anything, but where the dirt is, all they're doing is stone, putting down a top dressing on it. So,
It's up to another board, but
right, but that's something that will increase the cost of this property from our perspective.
To your point, is it a $400,000 purchase or is it $1 million liability?
Right.
And that's, unfortunately, that's not in our hands, that's
No.
in the
Even-
planning boards.
Even if we say no on this, we're not in favor of it, it still could end up costing us money, the town.
It might, but the thing of it is, when we say no, we have to get up in front of the town at the meeting and explain why no.
I think that's an easy stance to take.
Huh?
I think that's
Oh, I think
based
for
on
us-
this, it's just very factual, it's not political, it's just,
Right.
these are the
And I
valuations.
think that's the one thing you guys will appreciate about this committee. It is not political, not at all.
Well, to your point, if we have other things to compare this to, where you can say, there's other,
You know,
there's other, the budget only stretches so far, you've gotta,
and it's hard to make the town cough up money to pay for something when they were asked to override already just to keep
Exactly.
the status quo. You know, if you had this extra money, why did you have to raise our taxes? You know,
The big thing here to me is the trade-off of, we want to buy land, and really they want to make it recreation. But how better could we spend $400,000 on the current stuff we have, which needs to be upgraded? I don't know if you go behind Glenwood, at the end of Glenwood, there's a big baseball field there. That is the only baseball field in town that you can truly run competition on. You can bring in outside teams, you can charge money for it, but under the current status of that field, nobody wants to play there. So if you're gonna do something with $400,000, I would like to see
backfield
that
is
done.
pretty
So
wet.
now the rec department can charge money and hopefully reduce our costs to the rec
It's a
department.
liability, yeah.
that backfield, the soccer field in back is pretty wet. That doesn't drain well at all. Joe Buckley had put together a proposal to install drainage out there,
Yeah,
which never left the ground.
right. But that's what I mean, that
The
whole thing with
the softball field,
Right, that was at the, I thought that was at the one between Central Tree and Naquag.
No,
We're
it's
gonna
the,
drain
it's
that
the one at, I thought it's the one at the end of Central Tree.
the one behind Central Tree is not that good. The field that they play middle school ball at is in a little better shape. You know, but
But this is
the
primarily.
one right
golf.
behind Naquag is a little better.
Okay,
The one down at the end, the softball field that the young girls play on isn't too bad.
yeah.
But the field behind it where they play soccer and everything is just, you know, the kids come out of there
I
muddy.
mean, that's what I mean, we're
My
gonna,
nephew used to play in there
and
and
it's a discussion item, we're gonna spend $400,000 for a piece of property, we don't know what to do. When we could spend $400,000 with a piece of property, develop the town, get it back up to snuff,
right.
and get it running, and we have then good recreation for people, instead of trying to build out recreation. So,
The best field in town is the Little League field.
yeah,
By far.
Marshfield, yeah,
Yeah,
which is leased, by the way, it's not ours.
yeah. Whose is it?
Huh?
Who owns it?
Little League softball.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
We own it.
Little League
We
softball and
lease it to
baseball,
them,
and they maintain
take
it and
care of
everything.
They do
My
everything.
nephew has been very active in that group because he had
Yeah.
3 kids going through all that. And
We have a very active football team, we have a very active soccer in town, we have very active baseball in town. But the rec department is fighting for fields. We just don't have enough space. And we could do something, but not spend $1 million to do it. That
Well,
would be my case.
going
here.
back to an original statement is if we're gonna evaluate something, you have to have an end goal of it, and you have to have funding for it. So if we're gonna buy $400,000 lot, and we're gonna say we're gonna make soccer fields, what may have you, like, is there funding to do that? So we can't, you know, if we're gonna we have to stay consistent.
is that
To
ground
your
level?
point.
Is that land level?
It looks like it goes
pretty-
down to wetlands.
Yeah,
Down in wetlands on one side, 18.
But it's not, I don't know, it's close to level,
Okay.
where the field,
where the cornfield.
It's not a
is.
oh,
hill.
yeah, where
It's
the
not a
cornfield
hillside,
is,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty flat.
yeah.
It wouldn't be too hard to get it ready for building.
I'm just curious what they're doing on the RDIC property. There's been
I-
earth movers in there forever and no construction has started.
I brought this book with me, the Municipal Evaluation Management Plan that Ron, one of our previous administrators, had put together. But all it deals with is facilities. It doesn't deal with any of the land issues, doesn't deal with sports facilities, nothing.
Oh, that was the big study that was done, right, that actually put some dollar values on things.
Right, and made us look at things, so I'm not gonna get into that tonight too much, we don't need to do that.
And it
Just be
gets a little
aware
more out of
that
date each day.
the stuff is not ready yet. The stuff's not coming into us, so I don't know officially when it will be here. But if the town administrator would like us to move on it, how do you feel about calling an emergency meeting?
I'm okay with it.
In general, yeah. End of
I
September.
can't do next weekend, but if
I'll be
it's,
away for a week in the
I
end of
don't-
September.
Yeah, I
think
will
Last week.
too.
You'll be
so-
when?
Well, it sounds like both of us will be. I'm out. I'm gone from the 20th to the 27th of September.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
gone.
back in October. So if we want to do
So
it at the
maybe-
beginning of October,
Well, that's what I mean, I don't even know. if
I'm
it'll
gone
be-
the Monday to, I won't be home till midnight Thursday night,
Yeah.
Monday to Thursday.
so 1 AM.
1 AM meeting I can make, yeah,
That would be interesting.
it'll be a first. No, I'm out that week, the last week in September, and you're away, so.
I don't think it'll come in next week. If it does, he's gotta compile it, they gotta put it together for us. and
So
get-
maybe that first week of October would be a time. to
Okay, so I'll have an
consider it.
idea.
If he
of when
wants
we
to
could-
pressure us, yeah, I could swing that somehow.
Yeah, couldn't do next week, but the following week I can do. 28th, I think, is a Thursday.
And
you
I
said
think,
you're not around the 28th, right?
No, I'm not around the 28th, I'll be up in Maine that week.
Yeah.
I'm going on
Okay.
a week-long golf
The
trip,
fifth would be the first
Sounds like the
available. Yeah.
week-long golf trip,
Go out of boy.
5 days.
Just were you in Maine?
Yeah, well, we're staying at we're all got rooms at a hotel on Gunquit. And we're playing a series of courses, I've played them all before.
for what?
Golf,
Oh,
golf.
first week.
Nice.
Okay. Any other new business we want to discuss? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Do I hear-
Second.
No discussion, I take it. Okay,
Sure you don't wanna stay here long? And
in favor, Dan?
Aye.
All right.
I,
Aye. Okay.
7:50.